I didn't get home until 7:30 in the evening. I stayed longer than usual at Paloma's house, helping her iron the linens for the guests. My daughter has been working part-time for 3 years now, doing laundry and ironing for visitors who stay at the local hotel. The main job in the municipality brings in pennies, and Esteban doesn't get much more than that at the bus station. Young families now have a hard life. Walking down the street to my house, I thought about how quickly the day had flown by. In the morning, when I was going to my daughter's house, I had no idea that I would spend most of the day with her. But when Paloma asked me to help with the laundry, how could I say no? Besides, I love spending time with her and Esteban. Their little house is always full of life, laughter, plans for the future. It's where I feel needed. The key was tight in the lock, as it always is after a rainstorm. The wood swells and the door sticks. My husband, God rest his soul, kept meaning to fix the lock, but he never did. How many times I asked him to look at it, I said, "It's been sticking for 3 years," but he kept waving away. Tomorrow, tomorrow. And then he got sick, and it was no time for locks. I entered the hallway and immediately felt that something was wrong. The air seemed different, as if someone else had been in the house for a long time. Maybe it was just from being away all day? But no, usually after a long absence, the house welcomed me with its usual peace and quiet. But now there was a restlessness in the air. I took off my shoes, new ones, bought a month ago at the market. The saleswoman assured me that the leather was natural, but my feet got tired quickly. Probably fake after all. I walked through the hallway into the living room, turning on the lights along the way. The empty cabinet in the corner immediately caught my eye. The television was gone. The same flat-screen TV my late husband and I had bought 5 years ago for his last bonus. An expensive model, imported. I remember that day like it was yesterday. My husband spent a whole week studying sales brochures, comparing prices in different stores. We went to a neighboring town, to a large shopping center, because there was more choice. I remember how he spent a long time choosing in the store, reading the specifications, consulting with the salesman. The young guy patiently explained the difference between the models and showed the image quality. And I stood next to him and thought, why do we need such an expensive one? Our old one still works. But my husband was so pleased that I did not have the heart to object. My heart sank. I went around the living room, looked behind the couch, checked every corner. Maybe it had been moved. But where? The TV's big, heavy. You can't just move it. I went into the bedroom, then into the kitchen. No, it's definitely stolen. The antenna wires were still hanging in the air, and only a light rectangle from the base of the TV was left on the nightstand. I sat down on the couch, feeling my legs wobbling. One thought kept running through my mind. Who could have done this? The neighbors? No, we're on good terms with everyone. Random thieves? But then why did they only take the TV? There are other valuable things in the house. My late mother's gold earrings in a box on the dresser, a silver set from her wedding, money in a coffee can in the kitchen. She got up and walked through the house again, checking to see if anything else was missing. The earrings were still there, the set too, the money untouched. That's odd. Usually thieves take everything they can carry and sell. This is just the TV. My first thought was to call the police, but then I decided to ask the neighbors first. Maybe someone saw something. In our neighborhood, everybody knows each other. They notice strangers right away. If strangers came to the house during the day, the neighbors would have noticed. When I went outside, I noticed Senora Amparo watering the flowers by her fence. This woman knows everything that goes on in our neighborhood. She has insomnia and often sits at the window watching the street. Her husband died 10 years ago. Her children live in other cities. They rarely come to visit. So she spends her time watching the neighborhood. Amparo's not a bad woman, just lonely. Sometimes she comes to my house for tea, tells me the latest news. She knows who's in pain, who's had a fight, who's borrowed money, a living chronicle of our neighborhood. Good evening, Mrs. Amparo. I said hello, approaching her wicket. Oh, Rosario. How's Paloma doing? I haven't seen you in a long time. Amparo put down her watering can and turned to me. Her wrinkled face showed curiosity. She was always interested in my affairs, especially family matters. I'm fine, thank you. I've been helping her with her work. Tell me, have you seen anyone at my house today? My TV's missing. Amparo's face changed immediately. Curiosity was replaced by sympathy. And then there was an expression I knew from experience. She had information and didn't really want to give it. Ah, Rosario. She shook her head and clicked her tongue. I thought there was something wrong. This morning about 10 o'clock, I saw your Aurelio coming out of your house with a big box. I thought maybe you'd asked him to carry something. But he looked. How shall I put it? In a hurry. I felt the blood drain from my face. Aurelio, my own son. Of course, who else would want my things? Are you sure it was him? Of course I'm sure. I've known that boy for 42 years back when he was in short pants. But he's not a boy anymore, she added sadly. Rosario, I'm sorry to pry, but he's been looking strange lately. He's skinny and his eyes are red. And his clothes. She shook her head. What's wrong with his clothes? Well, how can I put it? Dirty, wrinkled. He smells bad too. And he walks strangely like an old man, and he's not old yet. Amparo was silent, seeing my expression. Then she added more quietly, Rosario, maybe I shouldn't have said anything, but you asked. And then, if things from the house go missing, you know what that means? I nodded. Yes, I did. It meant that my son had sunk even lower than I thought. Stealing from his own mother was rock bottom. Was he alone? Alone? He was looking around in a hurry. The box was heavy, he could hardly carry it. He stopped at the gate, took a breath, then walked towards the center. What time was this? About 10 o'clock in the morning. Maybe a little later. I was just having breakfast when I saw him through the window. I thanked my neighbor and went home. My hands were shaking as I closed the gate. Amparo looked after me with sympathy. She was probably already thinking of the first person to tell the story to. Inside the house, I sat down on the couch and tried to collect my thoughts. So this morning when I was at Paloma's, Aurelio had come here, taken the key, and taken the TV out. He took his time. He knew I wouldn't be here till tonight. I told him on the phone yesterday that I was going to my daughter's house to help with the chores. But how did he know where the key was? It's not like I told anyone about the potty on the porch. Although, when he lived at home, he probably saw me put it there. It seemed safe then. All the neighbors were honest people, and strangers rarely came into our neighborhood. My hands were still shaking as I dialed Aurelio's number. He'd only recently gotten a phone, an old one with buttons. He said it was a gift from a friend. Probably bought it at a flea market for a penny, though. It took a long time, and I thought he wouldn't answer. Aurelio didn't usually like talking on the phone, especially to me. In recent months, our conversations had been reduced to his requests for money and my refusals. What do you want? My son's voice sounded hoarse and unhappy. I could hear that he was not alone. There was a music in the background, men's voices. Aurelio, it's Mom. My TV's been stolen. The neighbor says she saw you this morning with some kind of box. Pause. The music got quieter. He must have stepped aside. So? Maybe I was picking up my stuff. What stuff? You haven't lived here in 6 months. What kind of stuff would you have in a TV box? Listen, don't give me that bullshit. I didn't take your TV. Maybe you thought it was missing. I mean, at your age, your memory's not what it used to be. Those words hurt. Aurelio knew how to hurt me. Yes, I'm 67, but my memory's still fine, and I couldn't just forget the TV somewhere. Aurelio, don't lie to me. Amparo saw you with her own eyes. That old hag does everything but her own thing. Maybe she imagined it too. Or maybe she's telling on me on purpose. Why would she do that? How should I know? Maybe she had a problem with you, so she's taking revenge. My son's logic was astounding. Any explanation he could think of to avoid admitting the truth. Okay, I said as calmly as I could. Then tell me, where were you this morning at 10 o'clock? What kind of interrogation is this? I don't have to answer to you. If you didn't take the TV, why are you afraid to tell me where you were? I'm fed up! Aurelio's voice got louder, more aggressive. How many times? 1 minute you're complaining about work, the next about drinking, now you're calling me a thief. I didn't call you a thief. I don't have time for this. I have things to do, important things. Anyway, maybe you should go to the police if you're so smart. Have them look for your TV. He hung up. I stood there with the phone in my hands for a long time, not believing what I'd heard. My son. My only son. The one I raised alone after my husband died. who I fed, clothed, treated, for whom I saved every peso to buy him a bicycle for his birthday, who as a child came running to me when he was scared or in pain. I remembered how sick he was when he was 7. High fever, delirium. For 3 days I didn't leave his bed, changing compresses, giving him medicine, and he held my hand and begged me not to leave. Where's that boy? When did he disappear and turn into this strange, rude man? No, there's no use thinking about it now. We must act. It was Aurelio himself who suggested going to the police. Maybe he secretly hopes I'll hesitate. That motherly love will keep me silent. I took my purse and went to the police station. It was about 15 minutes down the main street, past the market and the church. It was getting evening. The streetlights were on. The few passers-by were hurrying home. The market was already closing. The vendors were putting away their goods, cleaning the stalls. It smelled of fish and vegetables, a smell I had known since childhood. My father used to sell fruit here, back in the old days when the market was smaller and simpler. St. Anne's Church had been standing in its place for 200 years. It's where I married my husband and baptized my children. It was also where my husband was buried 3 years ago. In the evening, the church looked especially beautiful with yellow light falling from the windows onto the cobbled square. The precinct was housed in an old colonial building with thick walls and small windows. It had been built under the Spanish in the 18th century. First, it had been a barracks, then a courthouse, now a police station. The building had seen a lot of history. The sergeant on duty, a young man of about 25, listened politely to my story and said that Captain Vasquez was busy at the moment, but would be free soon. The sergeant's last name was unfamiliar, probably from another city. Young cops don't stay here long. They go to the big cities where the salaries are higher. I sat down on a wooden bench in the waiting room and waited. The walls were painted pale green. The paint was peeling in some places. On the walls hung portraits of the president and the local governor, a map of the region, and a stand with photos of wanted criminals. The clock on the wall showed almost 8 o'clock in the evening. The bench was uncomfortable, hard. I sat there wondering if I was doing the right thing. Maybe I should have tried to settle the Matter family first. Talk to Paloma, ask her to influence her brother? But what's the use? Aurelio hasn't listened to me or my sister for a long time. Or maybe I should just forget about the TV. Buy a new one if the money allows. But it's not about the TV. It's about the son stealing from his own mother. If I don't say anything now, what happens next? Tomorrow he'll take something else. The day after that he'll take something else. And then it could get physical. Captain Rodrigo Vasquez showed up half an hour later. A man of about 55 with graying temples and kind brown eyes, tall, sturdy, despite his age. I knew him from the days when he was a simple policeman and I worked in the store. A good man, fair. His wife used to buy bread in the store where I worked as a cashier. She always said hello, asked if he was well. The captain had a tired face. I could tell he had had a hard day, but when he saw me, he smiled. Mrs. Rosario, good evening. I hear you're in trouble. He gestured me into his office. The captain's office was small but cozy. On the desk was a picture of his family, his wife and 2 children, now grown up. A Mexican flag hung in the corner, a diploma from the police academy on the wall. The bookcase was cluttered with case files and a few books on forensics. I sat down in the chair across from his desk and detailed the missing TV, what the neighbor had seen, and my conversation with Aurelio. Captain Vasquez listened attentively, nodding occasionally and making notes in his notebook. How much did the TV cost? He asked me when I was done. We bought it for 8,000 pesos. That was 5 years ago, but it was a good model, worked like new. I see. And your son? Pardon me for asking directly. Does he drink alcohol? Yes, I answered quietly. Quite a lot over the last few years. Drugs? I don't know. I hope not. He's changed a lot in appearance lately, though. The captain shook his head and put his pen away. Senora Rosario, I understand how difficult this is for you. When it comes to loved ones, it's always especially painful. But if it was your son that the witness saw and there are no other suspects, what are you going to do? We'll find a TV for starters. There aren't many places in our town where you can sell one of these things. I'll talk to resellers, check pawn shops, flea markets. If we find it, we'll know what we're looking for. And if it turns out to be Aurelio? The captain was silent for a moment, searching for words. It was obvious that such cases did not please him. Then we'll have to make a decision. Do you want to report the theft officially? I must warn you. If we find evidence that your son stole, it will be a criminal case. Theft of property over 5,000 pesos is a felony. And if I don't report it, then we'll just give you back the TV if we find it, and that'll be the end of it. But Mrs. Rosario, think carefully. If a man has stolen from his relatives once, he can do it again. I nodded. Of course, I understood all the consequences. But what else could I do? Wait for my son to steal me dry? All right, Captain. Let's find the TV first. We will. In the meantime, I suggest you change the locks, just in case, and remove the spare key if you have one. How do you know about the key? Experience, Senora. Thieves rarely break in doors like this. They usually use spare keys or open windows. Standing up, the captain added, one more piece of advice. Talk to your daughter. Let her know about the situation. She may be able to influence her brother better than the police. I returned home when it was dark. The streetlights were on, and the windows of the houses glowed with warm light. Somewhere, dinner was being prepared, smelling of roasted meat and spices. The usual peaceful life of a small town, and I was in such trouble. At home, I turned on the light in the living room and looked at the empty nightstand again. How empty the house had become without the TV. In the evenings, I always watched the news and then some show. It helped me not to feel so lonely, especially on winter evenings. The TV was not just a piece of technology, it was a memory of my husband, of the last gift we bought together. Now that's gone too. I made myself some peppermint tea, the only thing that helped me calm down in difficult moments. I sat down on the couch, the same one where my husband and I had watched our new TV the first night. We were happy then, making plans, hoping the kids would have a life of their own. The same thoughts were swirling around in our heads. When did it all start? When did my son become like this? Maybe after his father died, or even earlier. Aurelio had always been a difficult child. He got into fights at school, had bad grades, got mixed up with the wrong crowd. Teachers complained that he didn't listen, that he was disruptive. I went to the school, talked to the principal, but nothing helped. After school, he tried to enter a technical school to become a mechanic, but he didn't pass the competition. He said that the exams were unfair, that they failed him on purpose. He got a job at a construction site as a laborer, but quit after a month. It was hard, the pay was low, and the boss was angry. Then he worked in a warehouse, then as a loader at the market, then something else. All ended the same way. After a few weeks or months, he would find a reason to quit. It was always the fault of others, bosses, colleagues, circumstances, but not himself. And then he started drinking, first on weekends, with friends, then more and more often. He'd come home drunk, fall asleep on the couch. In the morning, he'd apologize, promise to make it up to me. And I believed him. I forgave him. The last years, he practically didn't work. He got by on odd jobs. He helped someone move, painted a fence, unloaded a car. He only had enough money for the bare necessities, and not always. He lived with me, or rented a room in a dormitory, or spent the night at a friend's house. He didn't have much, 2 suits, some underwear, old shoes. Everything fit into one suitcase. 6 months ago, we had a big fight. He came home drunk in the middle of the day, demanding money for a new bottle. I said no. I told him I'd had enough. It was time to get smart. And he started yelling that I was a greedy old woman, that my father had left the house to him and not to me, that I had no right to tell him what to do. That was the first time I told him to get out and not show his face until he sobered up and got a job. He left, slamming the door so hard the glass shook. He didn't show up much from then on. Sometimes he called, asking for money for food or medicine. I gave a little, "What can you do, mother's heart?" But I always hoped that he would come to his senses, find a job, stop drinking. And now he's stolen from his own home. To sell it and buy booze with the proceeds. Had he fallen so low? I woke up this morning to a knock on the door. It was only 7:30, and dawn was barely breaking outside my window. Who could come in at this hour? I threw on my robe and went to the door. Who is it? Senora Rosario, this is Captain Vasquez. I opened the door quickly. On the doorstep stood the captain with 2 policemen. Behind them, I could see a car, and next to it, my TV, neatly packed in an old blanket. Good morning. I apologize for the early visit, but I wanted to return your property as soon as possible. My heart beat faster. So we found it. So it's confirmed. Come in, please. The police officers brought the TV into the living room and set it carefully on the cabinet. I made coffee and we sat down in the kitchen. The captain looked tired, like he'd been working all night. Tell me how you found it, I asked. Last night after we talked, I went to all the dealers in town. At Manuel, who sells equipment at the flea market, found your TV. He immediately admitted that he bought it this morning from a young man for 2,000 pesos. The description fit your son's description exactly. 2,000 for a TV that cost 8. Even used, it was worth 4 or 5,000. But Aurelio must have been in a hurry to get the money. Manuel said the buyer looked nervous, in a hurry. He agreed to the first price offered, didn't even haggle. That seemed suspicious. Where's Aurelio now? We picked him up an hour ago. Found him in a diner on the outskirts of town. He was drunk, spent most of his money. I closed my eyes. So it's true then. The son stole from his own mother to get drunk. What's going to happen now? The captain sipped his coffee and looked at me seriously. That's up to you, Mrs. Rosario. We got the TV back, that's the main thing. But theft is theft. If you want to file an official report, we'll prosecute you. Theft over 5,000 pesos is punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison. 5 years in prison. My son, whoever he becomes, could spend 5 years behind bars. I pictured him in a prison jumpsuit in a cell with criminals. What would happen to him there? What if I don't press charges? Then we'll let him off with a warning. But Mrs. Rosario, think carefully. A man who stole from his relatives once can do it again. May I think about it? Sure. You have until tonight. After that, if there's no report, we'll let him go. The captain got up, getting ready to leave. One more thing. Your son wanted me to tell you he's sorry about what happened. He says he was drunk and didn't know what he was doing. That's what he always says. I sighed. After the police left, I sat in the kitchen for a long time, trying to decide what to do. On the one hand, Aurelio had committed a crime and should be punished. On the other hand, he was my son, my only son, and I felt sorry for him. I remembered how, as a child, he was sick with pneumonia. Doctors said that his condition was serious, but I did not leave his bed, prayed, took care of him. He recovered, and I swore then that I would always protect him from harm. But is it protection to let him steal with impunity? Maybe prison will change his mind. Or, on the contrary, will it break him completely? At 9:30, I dialed Paloma's number. My daughter is always up early. She's at work at the municipality at 7. Mom, what's wrong? You never call so early. I told her everything. About the missing TV, about Amparo, about the police. Paloma listened in silence, with only occasional gasps. I can't believe it, she said when I'd finished. Aurelio has lost his conscience, stealing from his own mother. Palamochka, I don't know what to do. The captain's giving me until tonight to decide whether to file a report. Mom, I know it's hard for you, but think about it. If you forgive him now, what will he do tomorrow? Will he steal money from the bank? Or sell his father's things? I didn't think of that. There's still a lot of valuable things in the house. My husband's gold watch, his wedding ring, my mom's earrings. If Aurelio goes so far as to touch his father's memory, I'll come to see you after work, said Paloma. We need to talk seriously, and I'll take Esteban. No need, my daughter. I'll take care of it myself. No, Mom. This is about the whole family. I'll see you tonight. After talking to my daughter, I felt a little better. It's good to have Paloma. She's always been reasonable, even as a child. Not like Aurelio, who acted first and thought later. The day dragged on slowly. I tried to do housework, but my thoughts kept coming back to my son. Where is he now? What is he thinking? Is he remorseful or angry that he got caught? At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Paloma arrived with her husband. Esteban is a calm, rational man. In family matters, he usually does not interfere, but is always ready to support his wife. We sat down in the living room. Paloma hugged me and did not let go for a long time. Mom, I'm so sorry. How are you feeling? I'm fine. The TV is back. That's the main thing. It's not the TV that matters, Esteban intervened. The main thing is that Aurelio crossed the line. Stealing from his mother is the bottom. We talked for a long time about what to do. Paloma believed that it is necessary to file a report. Only then Aurelio will realize the seriousness of the crime. Esteban agreed with his wife. Aunt Rosario, he said, I understand that it is difficult for you, but let's face it. Aurelio has long lived at the expense of others. He's been asking you for money, borrowing from friends. He doesn't want to work, he just drinks. Maybe prison will change his mind. Or maybe on the contrary, it'll break him completely. Then what do you suggest? Let him keep stealing? Today TV, tomorrow something else. I knew they were right, but a mother's heart doesn't listen to reason. Mom, Paloma said quietly, I suggest you move in with us, at least for a while, until Aurelio comes to his senses. What do you mean, move in? Well, temporarily. We have a spare room. You can live with us and rent out the house. It would be quieter, and there would be income. Esteban nodded. We've been thinking about it for a long time. It's not easy for you alone in such a big house. It would be more fun with us. The offer was tempting. Paloma and Esteban have a smaller house, but it's cozy. They're young, energetic, and they make me feel needed. But to leave your home where you've spent your whole life? Thank you, children, but no. This house is my life. Here is the memory of my husband, of our life together. I can't leave it. Then what will you do with Aurelio? I was silent for a long time, weighing the pros and cons. Finally, I decided, I won't file a complaint. I'll give him one last chance, but I'll warn him that if he does anything else, I'll go straight to the police. Paloma sighed, but didn't argue. Esteban shook his head, but didn't say anything. I guess they realized they couldn't change my mind. All right, Mom, but then change the locks and take away the spare key, so he can't come in again without asking. I will. And if anything happens, call me immediately, any time of day or night. That evening, after the kids left, I called Captain Vasquez and told him my decision. He wasn't surprised. I guess that's the answer he was expecting. Whatever you say, Mrs. Rosario, we'll let him go, but remember my advice. Change the locks. I will. And also, if he does something bad again, don't hesitate. Call right away. After I talked to the captain, I sat in the living room for a long time, staring at the TV. On the surface, everything was the same, but something had changed forever. My trust in my son was gone. Now I would be in constant fear that he would steal something again. Maybe Paloma's right. Maybe I should have filed a report. But it's too late to think about it now. The decision has been made, and I can only hope that Aurelio will draw the right conclusions. I checked all the locks for the night, closed the windows. For the first time in years, I was afraid in my own house, afraid of my own son. The locksmith arrived the next day at 10:30 in the morning. A young lad, son of the local blacksmith, whom I'd known as a child. Polite, hardworking. In an hour, he changed the locks on the front door and on the gate. I threw away the old keys and hid the new ones in a safe place. No outsiders will get in now, Senora Rosario, he said as he gathered up his tools. The locks are good, imported. You can't just pick them. I paid him and walked him to the gate. Amparo's neighbor was tending to her vegetable garden as usual, but she was watching carefully. She saw that I was changing the locks and probably already guessed why. I spent the day doing chores around the house. I cleaned, cooked, tried not to think about the trouble, but my thoughts kept coming back to Aurelio. Had he been released? What's he doing now? Was he angry at me for going to the police? Towards evening, I began to feel uneasy. There was a foreboding feeling. I checked the locks several times, closed all the windows on the first floor. The street was quiet, with only the occasional car passing by. After dinner, I turned on the TV and tried to watch the show. But I couldn't concentrate. Every rustle on the street made me flinch and listen. This had never happened to me before. I had always felt safe in my own home. At 10:30, there was a loud knock at the door. It wasn't a ringing of the bell, it was a knock, a sharp, demanding knock. I turned off the TV and went to the door, but I didn't open it. Who is it? Mom, open up, it's me. Aurelio's voice sounded hoarse, his words slurred, drunk as usual. But what's he doing here? The locks have been changed. His old keys don't work anymore. Aurelio, go home. We'll talk tomorrow when you're sober. What house? I don't have a house. Open up, I said. He banged on the door again, harder this time. I could hear him tugging on the knob, trying to turn the key. To no avail, of course. What the hell is this? Why doesn't the lock work? I changed the locks. And I'm not giving you the keys. Silence. Then he laughed evilly. You changed the locks. From your own son. Open this door now or I'll break it down. Aurelio, don't shout. The neighbors will hear. Let them hear. Let everyone know what kind of mother I have, turning her own son into the police. I realized he wouldn't just leave. I'd have to open up and talk to him. But first we have to make sure he's alone. Did you come alone? Alone. Open the door. I pulled back the chain and turned the new key. The door swung open, and Aurelio burst into the hallway. He reeked of booze, his clothes were dirty and wrinkled. His face was swollen, his eyes red. He looked terrible. Here we are, he said, swaying on his feet. Mommy and her favorite son. Come into the kitchen. Let's talk quietly. I don't want to go in the kitchen. I want the living room. He walked past me, leaving behind the smell of alcohol and unwashed body odor. I closed the door and followed. In the living room, Aurelio stopped in front of the TV and grinned contemptuously. Oh, the TV is still there. Did the police bring it back? Good for them. They were going to put me in jail for it. Sit down. Let's talk. I won't sit down. I didn't come to visit. I came for justice. He turned to me, and I saw an anger in his eyes that I'd never seen before. Not just resentment or annoyance, but real hatred. You know what the cops told me? That you could press charges against me. That I could go to jail for 5 years for one stupid thing. It's not stupidity, Aurelio. It's theft. Stealing. He laughed bitterly. I took a television set from the house I've lived in for 20 years, from a house that is half mine by right. By what right? My son's right. Dad bought this house for the family, not just for you. It's an old song. After her husband's death, Aurelio talked several times about dividing the house among the heirs. But the will was clear. All the property would go to me, and after my death to the children equally. We've discussed this before. The will is very clear. A will. What if I starve to death now? What would your will do for me? Aurelio, if you're so hungry, why don't you work? There are plenty of jobs in town. His face darkened. There you go again. Work. What's there to work for? For pennies? For some boss to profit from me? To be a human being, not to steal from my own mother. I didn't steal. I took what was mine. He started to get agitated, his voice getting louder and louder. I realized it was useless to argue with him in such a state. Drunk people don't understand logic. Okay, let's not talk about it. Tell me, what do you want? Why did you come here? I want money. Give me 1,000 pesos. For what? To live. Food, clothes, what normal mothers give their children money for. I knew what he needed money for. Booze, as always. 1,000 pesos is a week of drinking in the cheapest places. No, Aurelio, I won't give you the money. Why not? Because you'll drink it away. You always do. I won't, I swear. You've sworn 100 times, and you've cheated 100 times. He was silent, looking at me with a hard stare. Then suddenly he smiled, but it was an unpleasant smile. You know what, Mom? You're very greedy. You've always been greedy. Dad knew it, but he didn't say anything. What are you talking about? I'm telling the truth. Remember when he asked you to buy a new car? And you kept whining, it's expensive, I don't need it, the old one will do. And when he got sick, you didn't want money for medicine either. That was a lie, and he knew it. During my husband's illness, I spent the last of my savings on medicine. I even sold my mom's gold bracelets to pay for the operation. But Aurelio wasn't saying what he thought. He was saying what would hurt more. Stop it. I won't. You've always been selfish. All you've ever cared about is yourself. And now you've reported your son to the police. I didn't report him. I reported the theft. It's the same thing. You betrayed your own blood. He took a step toward me, and I stepped back. There was something dangerous in his eyes. Aurelio had never raised a hand against me, but now he was not himself. For the last time, will you give me the money? No. Then I'll take it myself. He went to the dresser where my purse was. I blocked him. Aurelio, don't you dare. Get out of the way. He pushed me aside, not hard, but I lost my balance and almost fell. He grabbed my purse, opened the wallet. There were 300 pesos in there, money for a week's groceries. Not enough, he grumbled, counting the bills. Where's the rest? Not anymore. Liar, you always hide money. He started pulling out the drawers of the dresser, turning over the contents. I tried to stop him. Don't touch other people's things. What other people's stuff? This is my house. He dumped the linen drawer on the floor, then started on the next one. There were photos, documents, memorabilia. It all fell to the floor. Aurelio, stop! What are you doing? I'm looking for the money. I know you're hiding it somewhere. In the bottom drawer was a jewelry box. My mother's earrings, my grandmother's ring, gifts from her husband. Aurelio grabbed the jewelry box and shook it. What's this? Gold. Don't touch it. It's a memory. Memories can be sold. He opened the box and started to go through the jewelry. I tried to take it from him, but he pushed me away harder than the first time. I fell on the couch. Aurelio, come to your senses. It's a memento of my father. My father is dead. I have to live. He stuffed Mom's gold earrings and Grandma's ring into his pocket. He dumped the rest on the floor, chains, brooches, cheap costume jewelry. Give it to me now. I won't. I need the money. I stood up and tried to block his way out, but Aurelio was stronger. He pushed me roughly away and I fell again, this time to the floor. I banged my elbow on the table leg. Be quiet. You're annoying. There was a note in his voice that frightened me. It was no longer my son, but a stranger, an embittered man. The alcohol had completely clouded his judgment. Rising from the floor, I tried to stop him again. This time he grabbed an ashtray from the table, a heavy crystal ashtray, a silver wedding present, and threw it at the wall. The ashtray shattered. Aurelio, shut up! I've had enough of your whining. Then he knocked over the floor lamp. It fell with a crash. The bulb shattered. Then the vase of flowers, then the books from the shelf. Stop breaking the house. It's my house. I can break it if I want to. He picked up a chair and slammed it against the wall. The back of the chair cracked. I tried to approach him, but he swung the chair back at me. Stay away, I'm fed up. All my life you've been telling me what to do. I'm your mother. Bad mother. Greedy and mean. Then he noticed the picture on the wall. Our family photo, taken on our silver wedding anniversary. My husband and I, Paloma and Esteban, him. The last picture of us all together. Aurelio ripped the frame off the wall and threw it to the floor with force. The glass shattered. There goes your whole family. It was too much. I felt something clench in my chest. My breathing quickened. Black dots swam in front of my eyes. Aurelio, I don't feel well. But he wasn't listening. He went to the window and hit the glass with his fist as hard as he could. The glass cracked, then shattered. He cut his hand. Blood ran down his fingers, but he didn't notice. That's it. That's it with all this. The pain in my chest intensified. I sank down onto the couch, trying to catch my breath. My heart was beating so fast it felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. Aurelio, call an ambulance. An ambulance. He turned to me, saw my face, and sobered up a little. What's wrong? My heart. It hurts. It really hurts. I clutched my chest. The pain was sharp, searing, radiating to my left arm. It was getting harder and harder to breathe. Aurelio looked at me confused. The anger in his eyes had changed to fear. Mom, what's wrong? I tried to say something, but the words wouldn't come out. The room began to spin. The sounds became muffled. The last thing I remember was Aurelio frantically dialing an ambulance and yelling something about a heart attack. I woke up in a hospital room on the third day. White walls, the smell of medicine, the soft hum of equipment. My head was clear, but my body felt weak, as if after a long illness. There was an IV hooked up to my arm and sensors on my chest. The first person I saw was Paloma. Her daughter was sitting in a chair next to the bed, leafing through a magazine, but I could tell from her red eyes that she had been crying. When she noticed I was awake, she quickly got up and leaned over to me. Mom, thank God you're awake. How are you feeling? I'm fine, I wheezed. My throat was dry and it was hard to speak. Paloma gave me a drink of water from a glass with a tube. It tasted like the most delicious water I'd ever tasted in my life. What happened to me? An acute heart attack. The doctors say a heart attack was avoided, but the condition was critical. You were unconscious for 3 days. I tried to remember what happened. Slowly, the memory came back. Aurelio, the mess at home, the pain in my chest, and his frightened face at the last moment. Where is Aurelio? Paloma's face darkened. He disappeared just after the ambulance arrived. Neighbors say he ran out of the house and ran away. No one's seen him since. And the house? Esteban cleaned it up, put plywood over the window. He said you shouldn't be seen like that. I closed my eyes, imagining the mess my son had made. Broken pictures, broken furniture, stolen earrings. How much pain can a loved one inflict? A nurse entered the room, a young girl with a kind face. Oh, you're awake. That's good. Let's get Dr. Morales. He wanted to talk to you. A few minutes later, the doctor appeared. A man of about 45, medium height with a neat beard. His face was tired but professionally friendly. Senora Rosario, it's good to see you awake. How are you feeling? A little weak, but not bad. It's natural after such stress. Your heart took a serious beating, but fortunately there's no permanent damage. Dr. Morales checked my pulse, listened to my heart, looked at the labs in my chart. What caused the seizure? Paloma asked. Severe emotional stress. As I understand it, Senora Rosario had family problems. I looked at my daughter. Had she told the doctor the details? I could tell by the look on her face that she had. I know it's a painful subject, the doctor continued. But at your age, such stress is extremely dangerous. You need to avoid conflict situations, excitement. Doctor, how long do you want me to stay? At least a week. We need to monitor your heart, find the right medication, and then a long rehabilitation at home. After the doctor left, Paloma and I had a long talk. She told me that Esteban wanted to report Aurelio to the police for personal injury and property damage, but I asked him to hold off. Mom, he almost killed you. He didn't mean to. He was just drunk and not thinking straight. That's no excuse. How many times can we forgive him? I knew my daughter was right, but a mother's heart doesn't listen to reason. Maybe Aurelio is somewhere suffering a guilty conscience. Maybe he's finally realized what he's done. Remedios came in the afternoon. A friend brought flowers and homemade cakes, which I've always loved. Rosario, honey, I was so worried. When Paloma called and said you were in the hospital, I'm fine, don't worry. That bastard! How could he raise his hand against his own mother? Remedios was more outraged than Paloma herself. She had always disliked Aurelio, thought him ungrateful and lazy. He didn't raise his hand. Just a little push. A little. You can still see the bruise on your elbow. We talked about all sorts of things, the house, the neighbors, the weather. Remedios tried to entertain me, take my mind off my sad thoughts. She told me city news, gossip from the market, anecdotes. By evening, I felt better. My weakness had receded a little, my appetite was back. I ate hospital porridge with a cutlet. Not tasty, but I ate every crumb. The next day, the regime became freer. I was allowed to get up, walk around the ward in the corridor. I was in a common ward with 3 other women, all about my age, all with heart problems. My bed neighbor, Senora Dolores, was already 2 weeks post-op. A cheerful, talkative woman, she knew the hospital routine and was eager to share information. This Dr. Morales is a good specialist, she said, but his character is strange. Then he's kind. Then suddenly he becomes aloof. How long has he worked here? About 3 years. He came from the capital. They say he had some problems there. But he's a smart doctor, that's for sure. The 3rd day in the hospital went quietly. Paloma came in the morning, Remedios in the afternoon. In the evening, I decided to take a walk in the corridor. The doctor said that movement is good for recovery. The hospital corridor was long and poorly lit. The walls were painted a dull green color, and the floor was covered with linoleum that was coming off the base somewhere. It smelled like chlorine and medicine. Reaching the end of the hallway, I turned back. As I passed the doctor's office, I heard a familiar voice. I stopped, and sure enough, it was Aurelio. He was talking to someone. His voice sounded worried. The office door was ajar. I stepped closer and peered through the crack. Aurelio was sitting across from Dr. Morales, both of them looking tense. Doctor, you understand my situation, the son said. My mother is in the hospital. There's no money for treatment, and the house is empty. What do you suggest? The doctor's voice was cautious. The house could be sold. It's a nice house in the center of town. But it belongs to your mother. It will if she's healthy, and if she's not. Doctor, you understand. Older woman, heart condition, People often become unstable after such stress. I froze. What's he talking about? What inadequacy? Dr. Morales was silent, tapping his pen on the table. What exactly are you talking about? Well, it happens. A person has a heart attack, and he starts having problems with his head. Their memory gets worse, their mind gets confused, they're declared incompetent, and the family gets guardianship. My heart was racing. Aurelio was planning to incapacitate me, to get the right to take over the house. I understand your logic, the doctor said slowly, but such a condition must be confirmed by medical evidence. Exactly, medical evidence. Doctor, you're the attending physician. If you write in the chart that the patient has dementia or some mental disorder, that would be a lie. It would be a mercy. The woman is in pain, she's worried. It's better for her to be in care than to suffer from stress. The doctor was silent again. I saw him considering his son's proposal. What do I get out of it? Half of the sale of the house, 600,000 pesos. Not bad for a small favor, don't you think? 600,000. Aurelio was willing to give the doctor half the value of the house, just to get control of it. It's very risky, said the doctor. If the truth comes out, how? Who's going to check? An old woman with a heart condition, her son takes care of her. It's all logical and natural. We should think about it. Maybe it's really necessary to bring her to the right state with medication. We can't think long. She'll be discharged in a few days. If you agree, we must act quickly. The doctor got up from his desk, walked around the room. All right, I agree. But on one condition, no one must know about it. And I'll get the money as soon as the house is sold. Of course. You won't regret it, doctor. I stepped carefully away from the door and hurried back into the room. My legs were shaking. My heart was beating so hard I was afraid of another attack. My son was planning to incapacitate me, with the help of a doctor, to take possession of the house. In the room, I lay on the bed and tried to calm down. I had to think it over. What to do? Who would I tell? Would they believe me? My roommates were watching TV and didn't pay any attention to me. I closed my eyes and tried to think of a plan. Tomorrow, the doctor would probably start me on some kind of mind-altering medication. I need to be prepared. Remedios came in the morning. I asked her to be alone and told her about the conversation I had overheard. My friend listened with horror. Rosario, it's monstrous. Your own son. What should I do? Tell Paloma immediately. What if she doesn't believe me? She'll think I've really started to have problems with my head. Remedios thought about it. She needed proof. Should I record the conversation on my phone? I don't have a cell phone. And then how would I explain that I was eavesdropping? Then you have to be careful. If the doctor gives you any new medication, don't take it. We decided that Remedios would go to Captain Vasquez and tell him everything, but in my name, as a witness to an overheard conversation. At lunchtime, Dr. Morales came in on his rounds. He was his usual professional, friendly self. No one would have thought this man would be willing to ruin a patient's life for money. Mrs. Rosario, how are you feeling? Fine, doctor. Very well. I'll give you some new medications. They'll help strengthen your heart and calm your nervous system. He wrote something in the chart and left. An hour later, the nurse came in with the pills. New medicine from Dr. Morales, she said, handing me a white pill and a glass of water. The pill was unfamiliar, large, white, and unmarked. I took it in my mouth, pretended to drink the water, but actually hid it under my tongue. Did you swallow it? The nurse asked. Yes, thank you. When she left, I spit the pill into a napkin and hid it in my nightstand. If it really is a mind-altering drug, it should be kept as evidence. Remedios came in the evening. She looked worried. Rosario, I went to see Captain Vasquez. I told him everything you heard. And what did he say? He didn't believe me at first. He said it was a serious accusation, he needed proof. But when I mentioned the pills, he got interested. What exactly was he interested in? He said that if a doctor was really giving psychiatric drugs, it could be verified. We just need to get the pills analyzed. I took a napkin with a pill out of the nightstand and handed it to Remedios. Here, they gave it to me today. I pretended to swallow. My friend took the napkin carefully. The captain said that if the analysis shows the presence of psychotropic substances, he will immediately initiate proceedings. both against the doctor and against Aurelio. What am I supposed to do next? Keep pretending. If they give you more pills, pretend to take them, but spit them out. The captain said he'd have the test results in a day. The next day, Dr. Morales came back for another round. He asked how I was feeling after the new medication. Fine, I replied. No side effects? Any dizziness, drowsiness? No. He wrote something down on the chart, looking a little puzzled. I guess he was expecting a different reaction. Let's increase the dose, he finally said. Sometimes the body reacts slowly to new drugs. In the afternoon, the nurse brought 2 more pills. I repeated the same trick, pretended to swallow, but spit them out into a napkin. Toward evening, Captain Vasquez came in. He looked serious, official. Senora Rosario, we need to talk. I asked my roommates to leave the room. The captain waited until we were alone. The test results are in. The pill you gave me through Mrs. Remedios contains haloperidol, a powerful psychotropic drug. In large doses, it can cause confusion, memory loss, inappropriate behavior. So they really wanted to make me crazy? That's exactly right. This drug has nothing to do with treating heart disease. It's only used in psychiatry. The captain took some documents out of a folder. Mrs. Rosario, I must record your testimony. Are you ready to give a detailed explanation of the conversation you overheard? I am. For the next half hour, I gave a detailed account of what I heard in the doctor's office. The captain wrote down every word, sometimes asking for details. What happens now? I asked at the end. Tomorrow morning, we arrest Dr. Morales, and we'll be looking for your son through all channels. It's a serious offense, attempted grand fraud. The captain collected the documents and stood up. Senora Rosario, tomorrow will be a difficult day, but you did the right thing. Crimes like this can't go unpunished. After he left, I lay for a long time thinking about tomorrow. Aurelio will be sought as a criminal. The doctor would lose his job and his freedom, and me. I would finally see what my son could do for money. The next morning, I woke up to an unusual commotion in the hallway. I heard quick footsteps, muffled voices, and the sound of radios working. My neighbors in the ward also woke up and looked at each other perplexed. What's going on in there? Senora Dolores asked, rising from the bed. Probably some kind of inspection, suggested another woman. Sometimes they come from the ministry and check the hospital. But I knew what was going on. Captain Vasquez is fulfilling his promise to arrest Dr. Morales. I wonder how the doctor will react when the police show up. Will he try to deny it, or will he confess right away? Around 9 a.m., a familiar nurse entered the room. She looked confused and worried. Mrs. Rosario, you're asked to go to the administrative office. There is someone waiting for you. She hesitated. The police are waiting for you there. I got out of bed, threw on my robe, and followed the nurse. The corridor was indeed bustling with activity. Several uniformed police officers, the medical staff discussing something in excited voices, the head doctor pacing nervously back and forth. The administrative office was on the first floor. Captain Vasquez and his 2 assistants were waiting for me there. He looked satisfied. Good morning, Senora Rosario. How are you feeling? Fine, Captain. What happened? Dr. Morales has been arrested. He was arrested without incident. He didn't resist. He's being transported to the station for a statement. Has he confessed? So far, he's denying all charges. He says he never spoke to your son and the pills were just heart medication. But we have the forensic results and your testimony. That's enough to prosecute. The captain sat down on the edge of the table, his face serious. Senora Rosario, now we have to catch your son. The problem is that after that incident at your house, he disappeared. No one knows where he is. He has no fixed abode, no fixed job. He could be hiding anywhere. So what do you suggest? I have a plan. It's not the most pleasant, but it's effective. We get your daughter to call Aurelio and tell him that you— He paused for words. That your condition has deteriorated dramatically. That you had died of a second heart attack. I flinched. Even though I knew it was a trap, hearing about my own death was unpleasant. Do you think he'll believe it? He would. After what he'd done, Aurelio would expect bad news. Besides, he doesn't know about our investigation, thinks the plan's a success. And then what? Aurelio will surely come, not out of grief, of course, but to start the inheritance. That's when we'll get him. The plan was cruel, but logical. Aurelio would indeed show up when he heard of my death. But to imagine that my own son would come not to say goodbye to his mother, but to divide the property. Mrs. Rosario, I know this is difficult for you, but it's the only way to catch him. Otherwise, he could hide for months. Very well, Captain. Do as you see fit. Then we need to talk to your daughter. She must be prepared for this role. Paloma was called to the hospital on the pretext of my deteriorating condition. She came in excited with tear-stained eyes and was surprised to see me in good health, surrounded by policemen. Mom, what's going on? I thought you were getting worse. The captain explained the situation to her. Paloma listened with her mouth open in amazement. Aurelio wanted to incapacitate Mom? To take over the house? No way. Unfortunately, it can, said the captain. We have all the evidence. Now we need your help to catch him. What should I do? Call your brother and tell him your mother is dead. Try to speak convincingly with tears. Say it was a second heart attack. The doctors couldn't help. Paloma's face is pale. I can't do that. I can't talk about my mom's death, not even in pretend. Daughter, it's necessary, I said. Aurelio must be punished for what he did. But Mom, it's so scary. To be told you're dead. The captain put his hand gently on Paloma's shoulder. Señorita, I understand your feelings. But think about it. Your brother was willing to destroy his own mother's life for money. Such crimes cannot go unpunished. Paloma was silent for a long time, struggling with herself. Finally, she nodded. All right, I'll do it. But only for Mom's sake. That's fine. You'll make the call from here at the hospital. We'll record the call as evidence, and then we'll all wait together for Aurelio. The captain took out a special device for recording telephone conversations and connected it to the machine in the office. Paloma took out her cell phone and found her brother's number. What exactly to say? She asked, dialing the number. Say naturally that Mom died half an hour ago, that you need to come to the hospital. Don't go into details, let him ask. Paloma took a deep breath and pressed the call button. The beeps seemed especially loud in the silence of the office. Finally, the phone was picked up. Aurelio? It's Paloma. Her daughter's voice trembled, but she held on. I need to tell you something. It's about Mom. Pause. I couldn't hear what my son was answering, but I could tell from Paloma's face that he was interested. Aurelio, Mom died half an hour ago. There was a second heart attack. The doctors couldn't do anything. There was another pause, a longer one. Paloma closed her eyes. Real tears ran down her cheeks. I'm at the hospital now. I need to come, to do the paperwork, to settle all the formalities. Aurelio, I know there were problems between you two, but she was still our mom. Another pause. Paloma nodded. Okay, I'll wait for you here. I'm in the administrative office on the first floor. Come as soon as you can. She hung up the phone and cried for real. I hugged my daughter, trying to comfort her. It's okay, my daughter. It was necessary. Mom, I'm so scared. What if he believes it and grieves? What if he has real grief and we're deceiving him? The captain shook his head. Señorita, believe my experience. A man who is willing to incapacitate his own mother for money is not capable of real grief. He will not come here to mourn, but to count his profits. What did he say on the phone? I asked him. At first he was surprised. Then he asked if I was sure she was dead. And then, Paloma was quiet. And then he asked where her house papers were, at the hospital or at home. The captain and I looked at each other. Already the first question Aurelio showed that he was interested not in grief, but in inheritance. What did you answer him? I said I didn't know, that I had to look into it. He said he'd be here in an hour. That's great. Now let's get ready for the meeting. The next hour passed in tense anticipation. The captain stationed his men in the corridor and neighboring offices. I was escorted to my room with instructions to lie quietly and not show my face until the signal was given. When Aurelio enters the office and sees that his mother is alive, we will arrest him at once, explained the captain. He might try to escape, so the exits are blocked. I lay in the hospital bed and listened to the sounds from the hallway. My heart was beating fast, not from sickness, but from excitement. Soon I would see what my son was capable of. Soon I would know the whole truth. Around 12:30, familiar footsteps were heard in the corridor. Aurelio walked quickly, determinedly. Apparently, he was in a hurry to formalize the inheritance. A few minutes later, there was a cry of amazement. Then loud voices, sounds of struggle. I realized that the plan had worked. The son saw his mother alive and realized he was trapped. "Senora Rosario, you may go," said the policeman who had entered the room. I got up and went to the administrative office. There Aurelio sat handcuffed, pale and confused. Two policemen, Paloma and Captain Vasquez, were standing next to him. When my son saw me, he jumped up. "You're alive! How is it? What's going on here?" "Sit down, Aurelio," said the captain calmly. "Now we'll explain everything." "Explain what? Why I'm in handcuffs? Why I was arrested?" The captain took the documents out of the folder and put them on the table. "Aurelio Mendoza, you're under arrest on suspicion of fraud, attempted bribery, and bribery of a public official. All your rights will be explained to you at the station." "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything." "You didn't? What about your conversation with Dr. Morales? What about the plan to incapacitate your mother?" Aurelio's face turned gray. "Who told you? It's impossible." "Your mother heard everything," said the captain. "She overheard your conversation with the doctor and told us. And Dr. Morales has already been arrested and is testifying." Aurelio turned to me. There was not guilt or remorse in his eyes, but anger. "You were eavesdropping? Did you turn me into the police?" "I was protecting myself from my own son who wanted to steal my house." "Your house, always yours, and who am I?" "I'm the heir too. When I die, and you wanted to bring it nearer." Aurelio laughed bitterly. "Bring it nearer? You'll be dead soon enough. Old, sick. How long have you got left? A year? 2? And I'm supposed to wait for you to die of natural causes?" Those words hurt. My son spoke of my death as easily as he spoke of the weather. "Aurelio, how can you talk about your own mother like that?" Paloma intervened. "What mother? She never loved me. Always singled you out. She helped you. Not a penny for me. I helped you many times. Gave you money, fed you, clothed you. Handouts. Miserable handouts. And the house? Why is the house only in your name? Why didn't my father leave me anything?" "Because he knew you'd drink it all away." Paloma couldn't stand it. "Because he saw what you'd become." "Shut up! What do you care? You have a husband, a house, a job, and I have nothing. And I won't until that old hag dies." The captain made a sign to the cops. "That's enough. Take him down to the station." "Wait!" Aurelio shouted as they lifted him from his seat. "I want to tell everything. Let everyone know the truth." "Aurelio, be quiet," I said quietly. "Don't make it worse." "Worse? How could it be worse? I'm going to jail anyway. At least let them know what you're really like." He turned to the captain. "You want to know the truth? I hate her. I've hated her my whole life. She's always humiliating me, comparing me to others, telling me I'm a loser. That's not true." "It's true. Remember how you told the neighbors you were ashamed of me? That you'd rather have no son at all than such a shame?" I remembered those words. Yes, in a moment of despair, I had said those things. But that was a long time ago, and I didn't think he took it so personally. "Aurelio, I didn't mean to offend you." "You didn't? What about when you kicked me out of the house? What about when I refused to give you money for food? And when you told me I'd rather die than disgrace my family? You were drunk, you smashed furniture, you yelled at me. So what? I'm your son. You were supposed to help me, not throw me out on the street." Aurelio spoke louder and louder, lashing out. There was pain in his voice that had been building up for years. "You want to know why I wanted to sell the house? It wasn't just the money. I wanted you to have nothing left. I wanted you to feel what it's like to be nothing, living on the streets, begging." "Aurelio, stop," Paloma whispered. "Paloma." "I will not stop. Let him know. I dreamed of the day when she would crawl before me on her knees, asking for help. And I'll say, 'No, you old hag. Live your life as you wish.'" Tears were running down my cheeks. Did my son hate me so much? Have I been such a bad mother? "And you know what the funny thing is?" Aurelio continued. "When Paloma called and told me that my mother had died, I was happy. I was happy. Finally, this agony was over." "Enough!" shouted the captain. Take him away at once! The policeman dragged Aurelio toward the exit. He did not resist but continued to scream. I don't repent! Do you hear me, Mother? I have no remorse. I only regret that I didn't have time to make you whole. The door slammed shut. The room became quiet. Paloma cried against the wall. The captain was collecting documents, and I sat there trying to understand what had happened. My son was gone. Not dead, but gone forever. The man who hates me so much is no longer my son. He's a stranger, an outsider, and perhaps it's better for everyone. Senora Rosario, the captain said quietly, I know this is hard for you, but you did the right thing. People like that are dangerous, even if they are relatives. What will happen to him? He'll do time, 5 years no less. So will Dr. Morales. We have all the evidence. Paloma came and hugged me. Mom, don't cry. He chose this path. Yes, he did, and now he'll follow it to the end. And I will go on with my life, knowing that no one else threatens my home and my peace. Aurelio was taken away under escort. I never saw him again.